Good day, everyone, and welcome to Chop It Up with Attorney Linda Bernard. It's my pleasure to be here today and to welcome you to this outstanding broadcast. So many things have been happening in our community over the last several weeks. But before we get to those, and really within our nation, but before we get to those things, I'd like to announce something that's very important and that I'd appreciate it if everyone in this community within southeastern Michigan would participate in. And that is the Detroit Festival of the Arts reboot. In the old days, we had a great Detroit Festival of the Arts, and it included musicians and artists and spoken word poetry persons and people who made things, out of nothing, because I can't make anything, but just real. Because art is obviously in the minds of the beholder. So you have to, understand how important it is to celebrate God's gifts. For example, I can't sing, I can't play an instrument, but I super appreciate those who do. I can't even draw a good stick man, so I really appreciate those who can do things artistically. So I just want you to understand that this Festival of the Arts has been revived in this community. I'm so excited about it by Mr. Roger Penzabany. He is the chairman of the Highland Park Chamber of Commerce, as well as its founder. But he's doing this in the D. And he's also doing it in this neighborhood and in District 2. I'm the police commissioner for District 2, and it's going to happen at the historic and beautiful University of Detroit campus at 6 Mile and Livernois. It's a beautiful place. It was founded by the Jesuits about 150 years ago. So you know that it's very, very nice. It'll be exciting. There's great parking. It's easy to get to, because everybody knows where it is because it's been there for more than 100 years. And I expect everyone in this community to participate. The Festival of the Arts, for more information on this, and if you want to be a part of this activity as a sponsor or as an artist, please go to Detroit Festival of the Arts at yahoo.com. Don't forget, Detroit Festival of the Arts at yahoo.com. Please register. You can be an advertiser, a sponsor, but I can tell you this is going to be the happening event because the most progressive area in the city now, separate from downtown Detroit, and that's the good part about this, it's not downtown. You don't have all that parking hassle and everything else that you have. Is on the Livernois, Avenue of Fashion, and this is right at 6 Mile and Livernois, so you can't miss it. Great university, great people. Of course, most of the students will be participating, and they are from all over the world. So I urge you to go right now, today, to Detroit Festival of the Arts at yahoo.com. Type in whatever it is you want to do, and how you want to participate, particularly if you want to be an advertiser or a sponsor. So, having said that, let's get to what is really, if you will, troubling me today, and if you will, heavy on my heart. And I'm sure it's heavy on many of your hearts as well. Last night, I watched the news about the funeral of the young 22-year-old man, police officer in New York City who was killed. As you know, his partner, who was 23 years old, was also killed. But the celebration of his life was yesterday at St. Patrick's Cathedral, the most distinguished and esteemed church in the whole city of New York. And of course, the church was packed. But what moved me, not only as a person and as an individual who relies on the police department keeping us safe, even though I'm a police commissioner, have a badge and all that stuff. But what moved me about this was that there were 2,000, ladies and gentlemen, 2,000 officers standing outside of St. Patrick's Cathedral as it snowed in tribute to this young man. Inside the church, the clip that I saw related to the comments of his young widow, who's also 22. They met in the fourth grade, and they've been together since that time. They were only married a few months ago. And what she said was that as she was in the hospital room with him, she kept thinking that he might wake up at least to say, goodbye, or give her an opportunity to say goodbye or tell him that she loved him. But of course, that didn't happen. He was, mortally wounded, and he didn't last very long, even at the hospital. So, but I thought about that because so many things have happened in the last year, as you know, with respect to George Floyd and the whole, defund the police and everything about, how, painting police as the bad guys. Very, very, very few police are bad guys. I mean, a minuscule number. Most police are great men and women who actually do, despite what we may think, put their life on the line when they're on the streets of any city. This happened in New York. This didn't happen in Detroit. But it goes to show you the problem that exists currently with respect, in my opinion, to guns on the street. Too many guns are everywhere. A couple of weeks ago, I was in a 5-star restaurant sitting at the bar in Detroit. And I was meeting with a young woman who's a client of mine because I'm an attorney. And her son came in. Tall, handsome guy. I mean, like 6'3", 6'4", good looking guy. Skinny, you know how they look when they're 21. And I was talking to him and her, and she told me that he had a gun on him. I said, pardon me? This is a 5-star restaurant. And I talked to him. I said, can I talk to you for a minute? So he sat down next to me. And I said, why do you have a gun? Why do you have a gun? He said, well, I keep it in my car because I don't know what's going to happen. I said, do you know that carrying a concealed weapon is a felony and will put you in jail? No questions asked. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. It's immediate jail by statute in the state of Michigan and many other states. Just to have a weapon in your car and you do not have a permit to carry. Furthermore, if you're at a night in a casino or a nightclub or anything like that, you're not allowed to carry a weapon in there, period. You'd have to leave it in the car even if you had a permit. So I asked him this. I said, you're putting your whole life on the line. Well, I don't know what's going to happen. And so I said, first of all, the only place you can't transport a gun in your car or in your glove compartment or even in your trunk. If you're transporting a weapon, it has to be in a case, in the trunk, a real case, and it can't have any ammunition in it. That's number one. The ammunition and the weapon have to be separate. You cannot carry a gun. And he's like, all my friends will carry a gun. This is a kid from the suburbs who has never had any issues, His parents are well-established, wealthy people. I'm like, what the heck? Why does he have this gun? So, I'm just here to tell you that this incident to me with the police in New York relate to the fact that whatever this person was doing, the person who shot and killed a 22-year-old and a 23-year-old, the one who was married Friday, didn't even look like he'd ever shaved. He'd never even shaved. And the other young police officer just had a couple of hairs on his face. He's never shaved either. These are kids. These are young men. Very, very young men. Clearly they didn't deserve to die. Clearly they signed up for a profession that we know has danger. But But it made no sense. It just makes no sense to have a gun, carry a gun, not be able to engage with people other than in a violent way that is absolutely deadly. You do not have to carry a gun. Please don't carry a gun. Please offer up your prayers for those two young men. I'm just telling you, my heart broke. And it breaks even now as I speak about it. And I understand the burden that Detroit police officers have. You approach somebody or something, you don't know what they have. And you don't know what's in their mind. So, to the extent that you and I can influence that, if you're a mother, take away the gun. If you're a girlfriend, take away the gun. If you are a father, take these weapons away from people who do not have a license to carry them and who have obviously ill intent. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it. I've been to too many funerals where women are like, they're in the street. You call the parent, the wife, and now she's in the street like, my baby, my baby, my baby. And I understand that her heart is breaking. But your baby was carrying a gun. Your baby intended to hurt somebody. Your baby was in a life that was destined to end for him this way, either the jail or the graveyard. So please take away these guns. And also, please contact me, because I'm trying to start a gun buyback program in our community. I want to pay $300 for every automatic weapon and $1 for every bullet. And every parent, girlfriend, brother, sister who brings us a gun, no questions asked, no facial recognition, no finger, just gun, can be in a bag, gun, ammunition. That's all I need. I'll pay you. Cash money immediately. So think about it, but until I can get this program organized, hopefully within the next 60 days, until that time, please do not carry a gun. And even the couple of senseless killings that we've had here in Detroit, that liquor store owner, guy about 60 some years old, people aren't trying to die over property generally. I mean, if you ask for the cash register, the money, they'll give it to you. If you ask for the car, you got it. If you ask for the purse, you have it. Stop it. Stop it. Don't murder another person for property or anything else. And please stop carrying these guns. Now, that aside, let's get on to something that's a lot easier to think about and to contemplate. And the first of all, before I get to that though, don't forget to watch for the funeral of the second officer in New York next week. His funeral will be at St. Patrick's Cathedral probably next Friday. So, tune in to the national networks to watch that. It will touch your heart. I promise you that. And it's so senseless because, as I said earlier, we focused on police brutality in those cases where it certainly clearly has been documented. But there's another side to that coin, and that is the fact that police walk into danger many times every day, even when they're courteous and polite, which they are in Detroit. They can still come under fire. So keep that in mind and reserve judgment in every case until you hear all of the facts. As my mother used to say all the time, Highway 1 in Michigan is Woodward Avenue. Woodward is a two-way street. There's two sides to every story. So let us always reserve judgment on anything involving the police and the community until you hear both sides. Okay, end of my preaching. Okay, now the issues that are confronting the community right now are really pretty significant. And at least in this community, as you know, and throughout this country, I think 30 states have been engaged in redrawing their lines for purposes of voting. It's called redistricting. What district were you in? What district are you in? I'm not sure. I think I'm still in the 13th congressional district. Um, my or 14th. I'm sorry, 14th congressional. What am I saying? I'm in the 14th congressional district. My congresswoman, Brenda Lawrence, who I'm going to have on as a guest on this show, has decided to step down from that prestigious office. She wants to spend more time with her family here in Michigan, and she's clearly earned it. She's been a fabulous, fantastic, beautiful, wonderful congresswoman, and now she wants to step back and enjoy her life with her husband and her children. She's a great lady, and when you guys see her on this show, you're gonna love it. She's fantastic. That's all I can tell you. She and Maxine Waters, who's also a friend of mine, are very dear people. And I'm going to have Maxine on remotely very, very soon. But in any event, here in Michigan right now, this redistricting thing has really, ruffled lots of feathers. So it appears that part of Detroit now, I guess, is going to be with part of Southfield, and then they're drawing a line all kinds of ways. So I'm going to have the chairperson of the redistricting commission on the show. I'm going to try to get them on for next week so you can really hear what the real facts are. But we're all going to be in different districts, many of us. Districts have been realigned. There was a voluntary commission of individuals that were appointed to the commission. You applied, I remember when the application was out there, to be on the redistricting commission. And then there were some decisions made as to who the 20 people would be, and the commission was formed. So, and they have worked hard. Everybody's upset with them. But usually whenever there's change, there's always people who are disgruntled and who don't like the change, and who I might draw the line to the right, you might draw it to the left. But that's the beauty of humanity and the beauty of people in our community, that we're able to do this. So I mean that we're not all going to agree on everything, and as we all know that good old adage, opinions are like another part of the anatomy. Everybody has one. So you have to just deal with the opinions and move forward. But in terms of redistricting throughout the country, in the 30 states that have been engaged in redistricting, we've seen a lot of acrimony, if you will, about this. And I understand it because, Republicans want to maintain, their seats. Democrats want to maintain their seats. But with 22, I believe it's 22 Democrats that are resigning, that are currently in Congress, like our own Brenda Lawrence here in Michigan, things are going to be different. Because, as we both know, being an incumbent in office gives you an edge, generally and politically speaking, because people have some familiarity with your name and some familiarity with your work. So, when the incumbents leave, then that really opens up the window, not only for new candidates, and like for Brenda's seat, as I understand it, there are like 13 people that have already announced. One of them is Dr. Cherie Athanadar, who is a congressperson right around the corner from here. Excuse me, not a congressperson, a state representative right around the corner from here. So I'll have him on too, so he can talk to you about what his goals and aspirations are to be in the United States Congress. He's a distinguished guy, ladies and gentlemen. He's a guy that earned a PhD, who was raised in a dirt in a place with a one-room house with a dirt floor in India, and with 9 other people. I think he has 7 brothers and sisters and his parents. So he's come a long way, baby. So I really am interested in hearing from him and want to hear what he has to say. So I promise you, within the next 14 days, you'll hear from him on this station. in any event, back to redistricting throughout the country. So many Democrats are leaving office that I think it opens up a segue for Republicans, a big one, because if you don't have that Democratic incumbent face, um, that gives the Republican Party, I guess, the ability to move into that seat. Although most people, once they're in one party, they sort of stick and stay. If I'm a Democrat, I'm a Democrat for life. If I'm a Republican, I'm a Republican for life. But I urge you, as an independent thinker and as an attorney, to not think that way, to not be that way, and to open up, open your mind to ideas. I tend to say now that rather than just saying, are you a Democrat or are you a Republican, I say I'm a realist. I try to do what's best for my community and what's best for my country. And I expect people to come and do that. And that's the agenda that I'm looking for. What will make America and keep America strong, and what will make the community and my community stronger and safer. So I urge you to look at it like that. And having said that, I should take a station break here so you'll know what you're listening to and who you're watching. You are watching Chop It Up with me, Attorney Linda Bernard, also Detroit Police Commissioner Linda Bernard, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and every other top media platform. Like us, follow us, share share information about us, and comment to us directly. And thank you most of all for watching us on the coolest station in the world, WJZZ, Cool TV. Now, back to current affairs within our community. I had hoped today that our guest would be Dr. Sabrina Jackson. Many of you know Dr. Sabrina Jackson, but apparently she had an emergency and was unable to come. But I did a lot of research on her before I started this broadcast today. And I want to share with you some Sabrina-isms, if you will, that I think are meaningful. As you know, Dr. Sabrina Jackson does so many things. She's a business consultant. She analyzes people and places and things and gives them input on psychological input regarding, people, places, things. I mean, she's if you watch Dr. Bull on or Bull, the show Bull on TV, which actually is one of my favorites, which and that I always record and I always watch. You get a sense of who Sabrina Jackson is. She analyzes people, places, and things. She counsels them and gives them advice. She's also a person with a very high level of what's called EI, emotional intelligence. And I'm going to come back to that in one moment because it's more important than IQ, intelligence quotient. So, anyway, some of the things that she has related to us are as follows. She has this thing, she's on TV almost every week on, I think it's WJBK Channel 2, which is CBS. No, Channel 2 is Fox, I'm sorry. Fox, on the Fox network. And she speaks frequently on there and gives her opinion and gives advice and counsel to people. Very much like Dr. Phil, but obviously from a very different perspective as an African American woman and as an African American businesswoman. But that's what she does. And incidentally, that's what the show Bull is written by and co-directed by Dr. Phil, because that guy on that show is like the real Dr. Phil in real life. So anyway, back to the point. One of the things that she talked about, she calls them Dr. Sabrina's lessons. She says, quote, "Life is like school. You have teachers, lessons, tests, rules, socializing, and much more. Be open to your lessons every day." So if you really think about it, that's actually true. It is very, very much like school. Every day there's something that we can learn. If we pause, if we just stop, if we just be silent. I watched a commercial this week that had one of my favorite people in the world on it, LeBron James. And it was a commercial for this thing, which I'm gonna pull up and see what it is, called Calm. Well, I guess you sit for 15 minutes and you just sort of, there's no cell phone, no radio, no bebop, no nothing. And you just are calm. And you breathe. And you let peace come into your spirit. Actually, your blood pressure will go down. Your life increases as a result of this, everything else. But that's really what she's saying in this when she tells people life is like school. You have teachers, lessons, tests, rules, socializing, and much more. Be open to your lessons today. And you can't be open to your lessons unless you are calm. And that means not what do I call it? Not taking that bite. Like for example, I as a lawyer am trained to argue cases, and I've successfully argued 1, 2, 3 cases in the Michigan Supreme Court. Only lawyer I know, black or white, male or female, who has done that. So I understand argument, and of course, because it's what I do, it also will transfer into your life, into your everyday life. But I'm trying to take this lesson to heart, that in order to understand your lessons each day, you have to be calm. You have to be open. You can't already be formulating your response to someone's statement while they're saying it because you stopped listening. But listening is important to understanding. And right now, there isn't a lot of listening. That's why there's a lot of gunfire. It's not the OK Corral or anything like that, but sometimes it seems that way. Because we're not listening and we're not being calm. So I urge everyone to do like LeBron James and be calm. Although today's paper said that the other great from the basketball world, of course, MJ himself, Mr. Michael Jordan, lost his cool last night at the game when his Charlotte Hornets team was 20 points ahead of the Lakers, and they came back, I think, and won. I missed that final minute. From that, without LeBron in the game. Duh. Who figures that? When they couldn't beat a Lakers team without King James, then, he exploded because of the fact that he's recruited talent, he's trained talent, it's his team, and he expects a better performance from them, especially when a giant in the athletic world, a giant like him, is not in the game. The team ought to be better than, his team ought to be better than that. But unfortunately, they weren't. But it also showed to me, if you will, the weaknesses in the Lakers. They need to make some changes because Charlotte has never been a contender in terms of championship games or games, period. And with the amount of money and talent amount of money they're spending, and for talent, they ought to be able to get better results. But back to Dr. Sabrina. So I'm urging you today to be open, perhaps, to what I'm saying, but I'm not the end-all, be-all. There are people all throughout your life, everyone that you're going to come in contact with today, who you can learn something from. Watch, listen, learn, and be calm. The second thing that she talks about, that Dr. Sabrina talked about, and that I was going to ask her about, she says, consult the traffic signal in your spirit as you navigate your life. Your gut will tell you to stop, wait, go. Pay attention, and act. Now, many times we don't follow our gut because of the noise around us. Everybody's saying something different. You're picking up, your brain picks up snippets of things. You have emotional reactions to things that are said and that are done, and you're not paying attention to the traffic system in your spirit as we navigate our life. Your gut will tell you to stop, wait, or go. So I think we have to do that more. Um, Unfortunately for me, when it says go, I really go. Probably with too much intensity, too much drive, too much force. Um, so that's something that I have to work on, because when I like something, I really like it and I really support it, and I'm like, talk to the hand, which makes no sense, but it is how I am. I have a tendency probably to be dogmatic, um, but I do listen. The only thing it makes sense to be dogmatic about and not want to move about is matters of principle. Now that I'll never change. I won't stop, wait, or go on matters of principle. It for me, it's not negotiable because my principles are not negotiable. I'm not going to lie, cheat, or steal. I'm not going to intentionally hurt someone. These things just aren't in my repertoire, and they shouldn't be in yours. So I urge you, as you pay attention to the traffic signals in your life, always stop when it's a matter of principle for you, because my principles, are not negotiable. Period. And when I say that, I sound like my dad, because that's what he would say. My principles are not negotiable, period. And he had that James Earl Jones type of voice. So, it really sounded impressive. So, but listen to Dr. Sabrina. Finally, she talks about, not finally, excuse me, there are a couple of other things that she talks about. She says, listening is a skill set, and I agree with that. For me, um, because my mind is racing, and yours probably is too, when people are talking. Listening I listen better when I have a pen in my hand and when I have a piece of paper, because I'm listening and I am also writing. So I can go back and consider what you said afterwards, like I did listening to Dr. Sabrina. I write. I'm a writer. I'm a note taker. I'm a person that has to have a pen and a piece of paper, because there's so many thoughts that I have in my mind and feelings I have in my spirit that I absolutely have to capture it somewhere. And I don't record people or do anything like that with my cell phone, and I don't believe in that, actually, quite frankly. So I take notes. So, but I'm still listening. I'm listening, trying to catch everything so I can later go back and read it and review it. Now, um, Dr. Jackson talked about listening versus hearing. Listening is a skill set. Focus on information coming to us. Don't start forming your rebuttal while you're talking to me. Like, you may tell me you think, for example, on a political issue, that everything with the United States and China is okay. Now, I'm automatically starting to form my rebuttal to that statement, um, because because the facts as I know them are quite the contrary. Um, things are We are not in good shape vis-a-vis China. Um, China now has the strongest navy in the world. They can beat us at sea. They have 1.5 million people in their army. So obviously we can't win a ground game since we only have about 300,000. Um, they have exploited all of our intellectual property, violated all of our trademarks, steal a lot, involved in cyber attacks, and all of this stuff that's all this internet stealing that's going on. They in Russia, of course, do this. So no, I don't have fond thoughts or anything else about that because I love my country, I love my community, I love my people, and that includes every single American citizen. So, um, when you would say that to me about China being great and us having a great relationship and they're good for, I'm like, no, I think just the opposite. So, but as I listen, but I have a duty to listen to you and not try to formulate my rebuttal until after you finish talking about the issue. Dr. Sabrina also talks about something called aura. A person has an aura, and that's true. That's really true. When you walk into a room or sitting anywhere, that aura consists of is physical, it's mental, it's emotional, it's love, it's spiritual, it's intuitive, and it's also connected or disconnected to God. You feel it. You can feel it. You feel it when people are connected to God. You feel it when there's mercy and love, and forgiveness in their spirit and in their countenance, in their face, in the way they act. And you feel it when they are emotional about things that are important in life. So, your aura. So, you have to be mindful of your aura, how you physically present yourself. Interestingly, on that point, I went to a restaurant out at Somerset the other day, which is our most luxurious mall in the state of Michigan. Tiffany's, is there, and Gucci and Louis Vuitton, everything. Anyway, restaurant. On the placard when I walked in the door, and I'm used to seeing, that placard that says, proper dress required. They have on the placard, and this is a 5-star restaurant, no exposed underwear. No exposed underwear. And I was like, I walked in and I spoke to the young lady at the desk there, and I said, I've never seen a sign like that, no exposed underwear. And she said, yeah, we've had that problem. People come in, I guess, with their pants sagging or whatever. It may be a female with exposed underwear, and that it takes away, I guess, from the way they want their establishment to be viewed, etc. So I'm just saying to you, the physical matters. The aura of a person whose underwear shows, even though it says Versace, that person has, is different from the aura of a person that has on slacks or a business coat or jacket or a Burberry jacket or whatever. So you have to be careful of the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spirit of love, and of course the spiritual and intuitive side that every individual has. That makes up your aura. So that's that. And once again, you're watching Chop It Up with Attorney Linda Bernard, also Police Commissioner Linda Bernard, proud Detroit Police Commissioner for the city of Detroit, on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. You can like us, watch us, follow us, subscribe to us, all on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, every social media platform. Please tune in and watch us and let us know what you think. Let me know what you think. It's important to me. So we are live streaming on all of those platforms. Again, I'm Attorney Linda Bernard. You're watching Chop It Up on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the entire world. Now, back to life's lessons, as Dr. Sabrina calls it.
But before well, one more thing before that. Um, she one of the other things that she's talked about, um, and I think that this is really true, and this is probably the most important of all, is that there is a light, candlelight. Maybe it's a bonfire, and it is in some people within each of us. And when I say a bonfire, I have a client, a friend, who has a bonfire within him. He's angry. He spits out words. He um, gets into trouble, gets put out of restaurants and stuff, and everything. I mean, and this person um, is a very distinguished person. I mean, from an academic standpoint, University of Michigan, Ross School of Business, a graduate, um, top of his class, all the way through life. But there is a fire in him, and I don't know how to get him to extinguish it, and it comes out. He says things and does things that make people want to back up. So, if any of you have any thoughts on this, or how to extinguish not the passion, but the destructive fire that exists in some people, where you just know that if they don't stop, they're either going to end up dead, they're going to say the wrong thing to the wrong person, end up dead, or they're going to wind up in jail. So, if you have thoughts on that, I don't know. I mean, this person goes to church, sings the hymns, holds the psalm book, etc., is attentive to the sermon, but walks out of there and will just explode over things like politics, something the president has done or not done. I mean, I don't understand it. I'm not familiar with it. I don't know. I mean, maybe someone can call and let me know. Is this a sign of mental illness? Is there medication that works? Is there. What happens to a person with an IQ probably of 160 that just gets discombobulated when you mention things about um, about politics or anything like that? I mean, existential things. They always tell you never to talk about religion or politics. It's a good way to make enemies, not friends, because everyone is so passionate about it. I'm a Christian. That's the only way. You're a Muslim. That's no good. That's bad. Having that kind of mentality, as opposed to sort of a free flow, that's so important in life. It's so important to learning, because if you don't listen, you can't learn. And I am a learning guru. I love to learn about anything. I like to read and I like to learn. And I like for my knowledge base to be expanded about everything. And that's one of the good things about this particular station, WJZZ Cool TV. It allows people in the community to come in and learn about television, learn about broadcasting, learn. It gives you a chance. It gives you a shot. Um, the program director for the station is Mr. Roger Penzabany, and he gives people that shot. So if you're in this area, in this community, and you want to get involved in broadcast television and or radio, this is a good spot. He'll allow you to intern. You can come in, learn the ropes, and really be trained by an expert, um, by a person who cares, and by a person who's a member of this community. And that's why I'm not going to forget to mention once again how important it is that you support the Detroit Festival of the Arts, the reboot. of Detroit Festival of the Arts, which is being done by Mr. Pennsylvania, an African American man and business leader in this community, for the community. I mean, he's like, everybody knows about downtown. Everybody knows about everything that's south of West Grand Boulevard. I call it the Golden Circle because everything there is expensive and everything there has now been really gentrified, heavily gentrified. So he wants to bring it back to the real community, the heart of Detroit, which is the University District of the University of Detroit. So, a very elite, very good private school with a number of professional schools. Has a law school, engineering schools, business schools. I mean, you can get graduate degrees there in virtually every discipline. And it's done right. And it's not done with 300 people in the room. You're not, as my mother would say, a minion in it. You're a person, a real person, when you go to U of D, and you get that feeling of community because it's a private school like Brown University, Harvard University, etc. And you have the ability to interact with your professors and with your colleagues, with other students, which is an important point I'd like to make concerning education. Yesterday, and I didn't bring it in with me, I don't think I did. I didn't bring it in with me. There was an article about the United Nations, UNESCO, and then I've forgotten the other name of the other organization that's part of the United Nations that deals with children. And they said that the fact that we have stepped back from educating our students in school will cost that generation and will cost the world, but especially the United States, $17 trillion. That's a lot of money. That the fact that kids cannot go to school and are not going to school, are not being educated at school, particularly children from from kindergarten through the 12th grade. Now, when you get to college and stuff, I guess you can pick up this computer right here and, you can watch the professor, sit in your bed and watch the professor and maybe get something out of it. Although I wouldn't do that. I would go to class. But anyway. But who it's really hurting are the people, the kids from the ages of 5 to 18. This not going to school stuff is bull. I've said it from the beginning, and I believe it in my heart. And the reason I say that, and I don't care who I offend on this, it doesn't, you can't convince me, you cannot, convince me that tea is coffee. Coffee is coffee, tea is tea. But you absolutely cannot convince me that children do not need, in order to learn and to learn well, interaction with other kids, the structure of school. I got to get up. I got to be at school. I got to put on my clothes. I got to do this. I have this club meeting today. I have an art class today. I need to see what Sam and Carol are doing. And the reason I know that the whole, in my opinion, and I don't want to antagonize anyone. I don't care. I understand that a lot of people disagree with me on this. The reason I know that this is crap about kids not being able to go to school for corona, etc., is because all the private schools are in school. All the Catholic schools are in school. All my friends whose kids were in public school, including the governors of the states who have kids, they closed the public schools, but they put all their kids in private school because they are smart enough to know that kids have to go to school and we have to take the precautions necessary to protect them. But they need school. They need school. They need that desk They don't need a kitchen table. They need a desk, and they need a colleague right there, and they need a blackboard, and they need a person to look to with the 30 other kids that are in the class that's telling them something. They need to turn to Tom, turn to Sam, turn. They need to stand up, sit down, go to the bathroom, talk in the hallway, talk at their lockers. Kids need this. More importantly than that, they need structure. School gives kids a brick and mortar building, gives children structure. They know where they're going every day. It's their job. They go from 8 in the morning to hopefully 3 in the afternoon. Then they have activities and stuff. It gives them structure. It gets them out of the house. It gets them away from their house shoes, away from their toys, away from their stuffed animals, away from the smells of the kitchen, away from the busyness of most houses. They need a classroom. Simple. But until teachers decide to put education first, and our community demands that our government put education first, it's not going to happen. I'm so sick of this, I don't know what to do. And maybe because school meant so much to me. It meant so very much to me. I went to Catholic school for 12 years. And it was a small school. I mean, there were maybe 30 kids in each class. All 12 grades were in one building. So I went to school in the same building for 12 years as a student. And I remember the kids I went to school with. I mean, I remember, what we were doing. And Catholic schools didn't have the activities that public schools have. They have those gargantuan labs, and that where you can do all kinds of science projects, and then they have media rooms, and they have giant auditoriums. We had a gymnasium. When you had everybody to get together, we had to go to the gymnasium. That was it. That was the biggest space, and that was in a separate building across the parking lot. The convent for the nuns was at the back, and the rectory for the priests was on the left. So, this was my world. But I understood that world, and I achieved in that world. And I know that everyone can. It's all about the structure. Without the infrastructure, the building will fall down. And without the infrastructure to become educated, children fall to the wayside, and we wind up in prisons, mental health places, and everything else. Because we need the structure. We got to get away from our parents, get away from that house, get away from the bed, get away from everything. In school, we knew what to expect. There's only one plateau there, and that's the educational one. So today, I've been your guest, and I've been your host, and I've been your everything, which pleases me greatly, but I like it more when I have some of the people that I know you want to see and hear about. So next week, I promise you that I'm going to have a guest that you're going to be very excited about. So you be sure to tune in. Again, you're watching WJZZ, Cool TV, the coolest station in the whole world. And you can watch us, listen to us on every social media platform, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, etc. Look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you. If this is a hot mic, I'm not going to say anything that you might find objectionable. I'm just going to wish you a wonderful day, good health,
that you have peace and tranquility in your life, and that you obviously exercise restraint in all things, because an ounce of precaution is worth a pound of cure. That's all my grandmother said. So thank you for coming, for listening in today, and for watching us today. I appreciate you, my community, my brothers and my sisters. Thank you.